Aloha and welcome to Light Diamond Creative YouTube channel, podcast season 2, The Awakening Audiobiography with yours truly, Martha. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you're here. We have had an amazing season so far. Just wrapped up in the previous episode topics of visions and intuition, as well as the gut intelligence, gut instinct, epigenetics, food, and how that affects our ability to listen to the messages from our gut and heart. And today we're specifically diving more into the heart space and how that plays a role with the intuition. We discussed in the last episode. Now there's a lot of perspectives out there, okay? So feel free to, not be bothered if this doesn't match what you already know. I love having lots of different perspectives. Feel free to comment anything below the video about what you think. And when I perceive the intuition, I see it as a coherent alignment between the gut, the heart, and the brain. If we are talking about a coherent alignment between these three huge systems, then we need to address the physical health of these systems. Sometimes the physical health of a particular system can further be addressed by looking at the emotional state of a person or the mental state of a person and how some pains and ailments may be more of a result of energy from those bodies rather than the physical environment. However, we did highlight in the last episode the importance that food, quality of water, quality of the environment, we've talked about how the quality of all of that affects the ability for these coherent messages to exist, this alignment to exist between the gut, the heart, and the brain. Now, we talked more about the gut in the last one, so let's again dive into the heart space and how the healthy heart can interpret the environment, especially when it's healthy. I made a point in the most recent episode that our physical health, it does affect our ability to listen to our inner voice. It will become much more clear when we achieve a certain level of health. If we're talking about the heart specifically, now this is really exciting information. This is not information I learned in college in the biology degree. This is what I have found outside through personal longitudinal studies, okay? And also through the guidance and wisdom and research of people like Dr. Joe Dispenza. So the heart is, they say, 5,000 times more electromagnetic than the brain. Now, what does this tell us? We know that the brain is powerful. We know that humankind has evolved to have an especially compartmentalized and powerful brain that has many different functions depending on which space we're looking at. And we know that this is unlike most of life we see on Earth. And still, the heart is more electromagnetic. The heart. What is electromagnetism? Let's talk about that for a moment in case you haven't heard the previous episodes, although I would highly recommend listening to these podcast seasons in chronological order. Electromagnetism, everything with mass, is electromagnetic on some level. Electromagnetism can and does exist on a subatomic level, on a cellular level, on a systems, a tissue level, on a body level. Electromagnetism is like, let's talk about the cerebral spinal fluid. Let's talk about the central nervous system. This central core of the body has information traveling at the speed of light. That is electric. The speed of light information traveling up and down the body through the nervous system. Electric charge creates magnetism. And so we literally are electric and we are literally magnetic. These two things function as a result of the other, specifically magnetism as a result of the electric current up and down the spine. Electromagnetism affects processes within the body. It's dark in there. So how does everything get done? It's not like the cells can visually see what is happening. It is partially capable through electromagnetic interactions. We discussed an electromagnetic interaction like what happens with estrogen and cells, and we talked about that in a different episode, so go visit the details. You'll probably see it in the title of podcast season 1, meditation audio series, probably talking about the hara and electromagnetism. However, again, today, if we're centered at the heart and we have this little bit of information about electromagnetism, the heart, all of the nerves, all of this part of the nervous system that is around the heart beating is an electric experience, and it does that quite frequently. An electric experience, the pulsing of the heart, creating a magnetic realm around it. And depending on the health of a person, its magnetism may be smaller or larger, just as the electric pump may be weaker or stronger. And so we have this whole aura around us, the electromagnetic frequency of the body, which is largely contributed to by the heart, 5,000 times more than the brain. This is the area of the body that creates most of the energy of the aura, the electromagnetic field. What I have found in my longitudinal study with my own health is that as I increase the health of my physical heart by eating things that don't have pesticides or heavy metals, eating things that are organic, eating lots of greens. The heart loves greens, enhancing the cardiovascular system through that. The exercise that we do, this is to strengthen the heart. This is to practice the beating of it, the electric pulse. This affects the magnetism. Okay, so what if I have become cleared out enough of heavy metals and toxins to where there are no blockages that would interfere with the messages my heart attempts to translate into my brain? We can see the electromagnetic field of the heart as ripples, with us being at the center, with the heart being at the center of the ripple, and every time it beats, it's sending a ripple outward. This is how I see it. A wave, a ripple of the heart, the electromagnetic energy of the heart rippling outward like waves. So what if the health of a person affects the size of the electromagnetic field? I would dare say that someone with a healthy heart has a larger magnetic field than someone without. And I mean healthy heart on the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and social planes, all of them, not just physical. Someone who has a healthy heart and healthy body has a larger electromagnetic field than someone who is sick. And so what if we've become cleared out internally enough to where the heart, and like we're in the dark, people, the waves are going out, okay? What if the heart, through its electromagnetic waves, is able to pick up information about the environment that is even far, far off? Like when I'm seated here, I suddenly think of this one person, and then a minute later, I see them driving into the driveway. Well, I wonder if that is because the electromagnetic field of the heart has gotten so large that it covers a pretty big area and can detect movement even within that electromagnetic space. And so the thought of the person coming into my field is actually telling me this person is in your field. The heart just picked it up, and now you are being let known through the computations of the brain, through the awareness of this person's presence in your thoughts. And that has been a real experience, to have someone come into my mental space. I have an awareness of it, and then a minute later they show up in the driveway. What is that? This is largely unstudied, I believe. And so, this information is pretty raw. But what I invite all of us to imagine is that the heart is so powerful that even in the dark, if we had our eyes shut, there would be information through electromagnetism that our heart offers to the brain in order for the brain to understand what's going on in its environment. And so what does this mean with dreams? This episode is about meditation and dreams, people. All of the information about the heart was a lead up to this point. Dreams. What if the dream space, now there are a lot of factors here, okay? But what if in the dream space, the heart, the gut, the subconscious, all of it, which has been computing information all day, what if it is revealing to the conscious self the information it is processing through the dream space? And so that would mean that if I am in alignment with truth, if I have cleared out the toxins from my body, such as heavy metals and pesticides, parasites even, if I clear and optimize the space, then that would suggest to me that my heart is more capable of picking up information from far away, even emotional information. And so in the dream space, I'm able to understand more about the environmental context and my reality based off the messages the heart is giving to me through pictures, moving pictures that my brain would be able to understand. I have had dreams that come true. I have met people in the dream space before meeting them in reality, and that's pretty revealing to me, because I wasn't expecting to meet this person. I just saw them in the dream space, and wow, it was an awesome dream, and then later meet them like, what is that? My heart felt them from thousands of miles away, perhaps. Let's talk for a moment about meditation and how the practice of meditation can assist the dream reality and recall of it. In meditation, we practice stillness. In meditation, we practice presence. In meditation, we practice awareness. For instance, when I'm in meditation, I'm still enough to focus on the input of information through my senses. What's that sound? What's that going on outside of me? I'm still and everything else is moving now. So what is it? How is it behaving? And also, what is coming up within myself? What are my thoughts? What is present? I also mean presence in actually practicing being in the present moment physically, not dissociating mentally or emotionally, but having the mind and the heart and the gut and everything present fully in the current moment. If I am fully present or even mostly present, I'm able to pick up more information about the environment, the birds that are tweeting, okay, if I'm meditating outside. Able to pick up more information about the present environment. Practicing awareness of what is crossing my field. And so what I have found is that as meditation has assisted me in becoming physically present in this reality, my dreams are clearer and it is much easier to recall complex situations. I think this is because of the general practice of awareness, the general practice of activating the senses. Because if I am more present in wake and picking up more information in wake, then I am more present in sleep and picking up more information in sleep, which means I will remember more of my dreams. I am not dissociated from them. I am in them. I am part of the dream experience. And the more I've written down my dreams, just a shout out to the dream realm, the more I write them down, the more I'm able to recall too. So meditation does have a positive effect on dream recall in my experience, in this longitudinal study I keep talking about. I do want to talk for a moment about not just how meditation positively affects the dream realm, but how meditation can positively influence the healing of post-traumatic stress disorder. When I am in meditation, being present with myself and practicing awareness, it's not like I catch all the thoughts that go on, but I'm starting to catch more and more and more. And maybe after a while, the thoughts slow down a little bit because I've given attention to the ones that need attention and they no longer need it. In meditation, as I sit with myself regularly, I'm able to see my own thought patterns. PTSD affects thought patterns. PTSD affects emotional patterns. And so when I am in meditation and becoming more aware of my thoughts, I can grab onto that thought pattern, like creating worst case scenarios. That's a post-traumatic stress disorder response. Because the self, when it was in that traumatic experience, didn't realize that would happen or you never would have gone in. And so part of the way the self copes is to create worst case scenario events in the mind. That way we wouldn't go do this or this or that, even if it's not really justifiable by the environment, and even if it would never happen again in that way. This is part of healing through PTSD. So when I become aware of a thought, like I am creating worst case scenarios because I have been in a worst case scenario, and now I just go to, well, I don't really want to quite do that because the first thought that pops in my mind is that it's all going to go to shit. Okay, this is, again, PTSD response. But what if, while I observe that thought pattern, creating a worst case scenario, I realize that it comes from a traumatic experience. The way I think that everything might go to shit, waiting for the shoe to drop, a trauma response. And recognizing it as a trauma response and being one who is intentionally healing trauma through meditation, I might say to myself, well, I know that I experienced trauma, and I know that this worst case scenario creation of my mind is a byproduct of my own trauma. And so what can I do with that to reformat my own thinking as to not create worst case scenarios for myself so that I would not manifest worst case scenarios? Because if I keep thinking them up, I'm surely going to experience some of them. I'm drawing myself to them. That's a whole different part with law of attraction and all that. So in meditation, with that awareness, that's a first healing step. I'm aware that I have this mental pattern. I find the source. The source is trauma. Okay, so recognizing the source is trauma, how can I shift out of trauma behavior while still holding on to important lessons? Because yes, in that case, it was a worst case scenario. My body's trying to protect me. How do I keep myself from getting tripped up into one of those again? These are lessons that can be learned from trauma. And then the worst case scenario thing, after I recognize that I do that, I can start eliminating the worst case scenario neurological pathway from myself. Whenever I recognize that that thought pattern comes up again, X, that's what I say. I say X, or I say trash, or I say something like that. It's really trash or delete. That's another one. And so the audible of my voice saying trash or delete and the physical motion of making an X with my hand helps to rewire the brain out of going down that mental loop. And more, I find that I'm no longer thinking that pattern. I have successfully eliminated it from my state of being. And if meditation is helping me do that, the dream world will be affected too. Dreams, if we have a lot of trauma can affect the dream world negatively because the subconscious and the conscious bodies just experience something that has literally affected recall of memory. And so in meditating, we can heal ourselves from mental patterns. We can activate memory, wake and dream recall, and we can practice presence so that we don't go to that traumatic place in our mind. Instead, we're present in this current reality. And that presence also, again, translating to the dream realm where I am present. And if more trauma is cleared out, what I'm experiencing in this dream realm is not something that freaks me out. Because trauma will do that. Those ghosts will come back until it's handled. What else? I would like to give a few examples of dreams that I have experienced. It's a little debatable which ones to share. You know, the dream realm can be really specific to a single, it is really specific to a single person. But what I would like to demonstrate is the dreams, a couple of them that I've had that have later revealed in reality in some way or another. Okay, let's take this example of I met a person in the dream realm in 2019, and I was having a really hard time then. And so in this dream with this person, I had a great experience, innocent, within the dream realm that helped me feel a lot better. I remember the way this person looked, although I didn't know them. And there were a couple other people in the dream I didn't know as well, but here's this whole scenario unfolding, and it's a beautiful dream. I woke up from that, and I wished that I could just stay there in that dream. And then, how many years later? 1, 2. 2 years later, I see this person in wake. And it literally shocked me so much that my whole body, convulsed. I was shocked. I was stunned. I was struck. And that was partially because I'd seen this person in a dream and met them on the astral realm before meeting them in person. And here they were in person. What that tells me partially is that the intelligence of the heart is beyond what we are currently aware of. If it's true that the healthier our hearts are, the more the heart is able to pick up about the environment, the more we're accurately receiving messages from it, then that would mean that my heart detected the existence of this person in the astral realm and in wake before I had ever consciously met them. To me, that validates the dream world, and it validates the experience of meeting the person, because there's no way to make that up. Okay, here's another dream. I was in a tough spot looking to move, and I needed to get back to the ocean. And I knew that I needed to get back to the ocean because in the dream, one of my spirit guides held my face in their hands and said, "Go back to the ocean." And it was such a clear message that I knew going back to the ocean would help me emotionally and mentally that I moved within 2 months and got my booty down there. Even if it's not a guide, even if it's not someone on spirit side giving that information, even if it is only the subconscious giving information to the self, it knows where the self needs to be in order to improve the situation. And when I got that information, it resonated and I wanted to go. And so I made it happen. All right, last dream. This dream occurred in late 2019. And in this dream, now this one's rough, all right? In this dream, I was in a seat within a large room that had all white walls. In this dream, I see 2 people dressed fully in black. One of them looks like a samurai, and the other is a child. And in this dream, the samurai takes the sword. Prepare yourselves. This sucked. This dream sucked. Okay. I'm glad I had it. You'll know why here in a moment. So just hold on to your horses, people. In this dream, the samurai took the sword and made 3 cuts to kill this child dressed in black. Across the third eye, across the throat, across the heart. Experiencing this in the dream realm was shocking and traumatic. In the dream, I say it was traumatic. I understand it wasn't on the physical plane. However, our emotions do exist within the dream realm, and there is no denying that. The emotions, we go through physiological processes, emotions getting stimulated or channeled or changed as we experience one dream or another. And also, it had shocked me to the point where I was not able to speak in the dream, and I really wasn't able to move either. And I was much more easy to influence in a state of shock. I'm pulled over in this chair to another part of the room, and someone brings me a giant clear glass filled with some sort of liquid. It looks thick, it's clear, it's got some bubbles in it. It almost looks like, hand sanitizer. It's not hand sanitizer, but it looks like that type of fluid. And in the very center, there are these black, almost looking like stones, but it's like they're if you've ever seen the way black tourmaline forms, it's got those straight edges, and if a giant piece of black tourmaline could be pulled apart from itself to where they were individual rods of black, that would be how I describe what was in the center of this glass that was being offered to me. And in the dream, after the trauma of this samurai killing this child, I'm in shock and I hear a voice. I don't see anyone except for hands bringing me this giant glass jar that I'm supposed to drink. But I'm in shock and my judgment is impaired and I'm really just not sure what is going on because I'm so shocked. I'm stunned. And the voice says, drink it, drink it, drink it. Bring it to her, drink it. Repeated over and over. And I'm holding this glass in my hands and I'm looking at it and my intuition is telling me no. But there's something so powerful about the combination of shock, trauma, and being more easily influenced while in that state. And so I bring it to my lips. And finally, before drinking any of it at all, I say no, and I set it down. And the dream ends. And when I wake from this dream, it feels like I am covered in dark energy. I had to brush it off all morning. It took me 2 days to shake that dream. And I get chills talking about it now. Because that was late 2019. And you know where I'm going with this. You know enough to know that I'm not going to go there, but I'm saying that something about me knew. Some sort of intelligence was able to communicate to me through the dream, even though the dream sucked, even though it was shocking, even though it was a nightmare, and it took me days to shake. It offered me wisdom that I was able to take with me through the 2020 and beyond experience. One lesson is that we are more easy to manipulate when we are shocked from trauma. 2, my intuition knows the answer, and I don't have to be able to describe or justify the ins and outs of why I would listen to it. And 3, there is some effed up ish going on, and I need to be able to navigate it. And I didn't know yet what that ish would be. I didn't even know that that was foreboding. It was only past the beginning of the 2020 experiences where I reflected on that dream, and I realized it was a message. It was a warning. Feel free to take or leave anything that I say. This has been episode 13, Meditation and Dreams, the Heart, Healing PTSD, and Beyond. Thanks for being here. This is the Light Diamond Creative YouTube platform for podcast season 2, The Awakening Audiobiography. Feel free to support the continued output of information by this channel by donating to Light Diamond Creative on Venmo or Cash App. Thanks. Have a good one. Peace.